Ladies and gentlemen, 988 is the new number you call for mental health emergencies. Because we remember when cops show up on the scene for these mental health calls, they'll come out and kill the person. All right. So there's a new law that Trump recently signed that gives people the option of calling 988 if the person is just having mental health issues. It's not a criminal issue at all. Okay. It can even be called for people that are suicidal. So, in a way, this is good. Then you don't have to worry about some crazy ass cop coming out there and botching up everything like they usually do. So this came out on NPR. New law creates 988 hotline for mental health emergencies. And this is good. Pass it on to anybody in your family that have mental health issues so they know to call this number, not 911. I'm going to go ahead and play this audio.
Over the weekend, President Trump signed a bill creating a new 3-digit suicide prevention hotline. The Federal Communications Commission had set aside 988 for the lifeline. The number will not become active for nearly 2 years, and as NPR's Ritu Chatterjee reports, that allows mental health providers time to adapt.
By July 2022, anyone having thoughts of suicide or experiencing a mental health crisis can call 988 to get help.
We are thrilled because this is a game changer.
Bob Gebbia is the CEO of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. He says the existing 10-digit number for the Suicide Prevention Lifeline can be hard to call in the middle of a crisis.
So when you're in crisis, you're already emotionally upset and struggling. The hardest thing to do is to find a number that's a 10-digit number and call it.
A 3-digit number is easier to remember and dial.
We know 911. It's ingrained in our heads, right? So I don't have to think about it.
A national 3-digit number will make it far easier for millions of Americans to get immediate connection to care.
Kimberly Williams is president and CEO of Vibrant Emotional Health, the organization that runs the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. When someone calls the Lifeline now, they're connected to one of 170 local crisis centers around the country. Williams says 988 will likely cause a rise in number of calls to these centers.
Under 988, it's anticipated that far more people are going to be reaching out for help.
But many crisis centers are underfunded and don't have enough staff to handle the existing call volumes. The new law provides for additional funding for these crisis centers to expand their capacity. Lauren Conaboy is with Centerstone, a behavioral health care provider working in several states.
This legislation itself gives states the authority to levy fees on wireless bills, similar to how 911 is financed in a lot of states.
These centers have already experienced a significant rise in number of calls during the pandemic. The new law, Conaboy says, will help meet a growing need.
So that 2 years down the road, we're equipped as a nation to provide those emergency services and to make it as easy as possible for someone in that moment of crisis to reach out.
Ritu Chatterjee, NPR News.
All right. And if you or someone you know is having thoughts of suicide, please call 1-800-273-TALK.
Now, you would think they would have had something out for suicides and mental health calls a long time ago. Boy, this place is slow to get everything done. So, as you heard, the new law was signed by Trump, but this 988 will not go into effect until July 2022. So, as you heard, they said this is going to be a game changer, especially for mental health advocates. It will make it easier for Americans to access mental health care. Right now, they have a totally different number for suicide prevention. But, many people in this country have relatives and friends that are suffering from mental health. And as soon as they go into a crisis, the last thing you want to do is call the police, especially if they're part of the Black community, because they don't even care what the situation is. They just want to show up and go to shooting everybody. So this will hopefully save lives. It's a shame that this not didn't come out prior to now. Somebody like Daniel Prude could have definitely used this, because that's what was going on with him. He was just struggling with a mental health issue when the police decided to put a bag over his head and then strangle him to death, which is a disgrace over there in Rochester. So they're saying under 988, it is anticipated that far more people will be reaching out for help. The law also gives states the authority to levy fees on wireless bills. Hopefully, they won't, bother anybody with dialing this number, just like they don't bother people when they dial 911 if you need help. You're not charged for those calls. And I think the government should foot the bill for 988. I mean, after all, the number is coming from the government. They should foot the bill for it. Right now, many people end up relying on 911 for these emergencies, as the cases are handled by the police and hospital emergency departments, but often the person can be helped just by a conversation. We don't have to dispatch police. Cases that need more intervention can be resolved without sending someone to an emergency department. States will have more funding now to invest in things like crisis mobile teams and trained mental health personnel. Call volumes to the National Suicide Prevention Hotline has increased during the coronavirus pandemic, peaking at an increase of 6% in July compared to the same period a year ago, according to Vibrant Emotional Health. And studies show the need for mental health care is growing. Says Kind of Boy, the new law, she says, will help meet the growing need. So that's 2 years down the road. We're equipped as a nation to provide those emergency services and to make it easy as possible for someone that a moment of crisis to reach out. She says, well, with COVID going in this country, you may have a lot of mental health people if things don't turn around, which I don't expect it to in the next couple of years. You're going to have a lot of people probably flooding that hotline, 988. But y'all, please tell me what you think. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.